Good morning, and welcome to worship. My name is Meg McGuire, and I have the great pleasure of being the Ministerial Intern this year at the First Unitarian Universalist Society of San Francisco. I am so glad that all of you are here, joining us from your couches or your kitchen tables, in this expression of worship that is what we have that is good enough right now. If you're joining us this morning for the first time, consider downloading our order of service, which you can find with just a click on our website or in the chat of the live stream. With the order of service, you can follow along this morning and also get a sense of the many opportunities to connect in this community. Our service this morning, as you'll see, is possible only through the labor of a community. So I want to take a moment to name a few of the people who are instrumental in making this morning possible. From the team who skillfully manages the technology behind our live stream, our AV and sound expert, Jonathan Silk, and our wonderful camera people, Shulee Ong and Eric Shackelford. We also have Joe Chapeau, who's monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions, Joe will do his best to answer them. And we're grateful to Alex Starr and Les James, who are hosting Zoom Coffee Hour right after the service. Thank you also to those who've prepared and beautified our space, our Sextons, Thomas Brown and Roberto Delano, and Amy Kelly, who provided the beautiful flowers that we're enjoying this morning. Also, the people who've pulled together our music, Reiko Oda Lane, our organist, Mark Sumner, our choir director, and our soloists, Leandra Ramm, Brielle Marina Neilson, Ben Rudiak-Gould, and Asher Davison. And of course, I am joined this morning by Worship Associate Richard Davis-Lowell and our Senior Minister, Reverend Vanessa Rush Southern. And we're so glad that all of you are here. I want to take a moment, as we have since March of this last year, to acknowledge all of you who, while you may not be here in body, are essential in weaving together the fabric of this community, which is what brings this worship together. So, with the kindling of this flame, we bring you a bit more in presence and spirit here into this space. We gather together this morning in the midst of Black History Month, or what some call Black Futures Month, a time for all of us to look back with gratitude for the freedom fighters and visionaries and artists and powerful Black leaders and participants who have made the way out of no way to this point. It is a time to ground in love, in the present, and all that that requires from each of us. And it is a time that we might look forward to with commitment and imagination, that we might co-create a world that honors Black lives in their fullness, complexity, and exuberance. One small invitation to live into that present is in our offering this morning. So I want to let you know in advance that we'll be taking the offering to support Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism, or BLUE. BLUE is a collective committed to supporting and resourcing Black Unitarian Universalists and to promoting justice-making and liberation throughout our faith. We'll have more information about BLUE and how to donate later in the service, but there's just a heads up. This week, the Ministers' Book Group is reading and discussing John Lewis's book, Walking with the Wind, a Memoir of the Movement. The book and the sermon this morning reflect on John Lewis's life and its lasting import and legacy. And a powerful theme in Walking with the Wind is the role of music, especially African American spirituals, in the resilience and resistance of those movements at that time. So our service this morning brings in some of that music, and also some of the ways that that music, those spirituals, have rippled out and inspired whole generations of other music. So at the close of this service, we'll sing We Shall Overcome, a version of which we just heard on the organ, which is an anthem not only for civil rights movements here in the US, but has become international in many civil rights movements and labor movements too. And our first hymn this morning is We Are, a rendition by the classic From Sweet Honey in the Rock, whose music civil rights icon Ruby Sales has reflected was the spiritual grounding of an entire generation of African American young people. So please join me now in singing hymn number 1051, We Are. You'll find the words printed in your order of service. Welcome to worship, everyone.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are.
Please join me in our chalice lighting. You'll find the words in our order of service. We light this chalice for the light of truth, the warmth of love, and the fire of commitment. We light this symbol of our faith as we gather together.
Good morning, everybody. If this is your first time joining us, thank you for being here. As Meg mentioned, the order of service, which will be your companion through this service, if you'd like a written companion, it's available. There's a description in the video, in the chat. It's emailed to all of us too, those of us who are on the newsletter mailing list every Friday with a link to Sunday's worship and a link to the order of service. So if you haven't already and are inclined to fill out our connections form, that will be one way we can add you to that list, and you'll have easy access Sunday morning to everything that you need to be with us in worship. The order of worship also lists the events that are upcoming in the life of this congregation. Those events begin right after worship this morning with our Zoom coffee hour. So there's a link to join it. And in that coffee hour, you'll get a chance to meet a few people at a time in the breakout rooms. One of those breakout rooms will be designated, as it was last week too, with an experiment in hosting a sermon discussion group for those who want to process together some of the thoughts that the sermon or feelings that the sermon raised up in them and have some fruitful conversation around that. Donald Mathuson is going to be the host for that. So when you join the coffee hour, just say that's something in particular that you'd like to be part of. So it begins there. Then there's some other special announcements I want to make sure that you hear about. The first is about something related to our auction.
Did you have a blast at the church live auction a few weeks ago? It was so much fun, and you all donated really wonderful items. I'm Stephanie Gowan, speaking to you as chair of the Stewardship Committee. Our committee's charge is multifaceted, but one of the key things we do is promote goodwill among the membership to facilitate generosity. Our annual auction not only checks this box, but also provides much-needed operating funds for the church, and the auction has grown to become an essential part of the UUSF operating budget. We had one item during the live auction, a fabulous UU-themed trip to the Honolulu area that ended before everyone who wanted to bid got that opportunity. So we're opening that item, and only that item, up for bidding again. How cool is that to get a second chance? The stay is for 4 days, anytime between October 2021 and March 2022, by pre-arrangement with the hosts, excluding December 20th through January 8th, and the trip includes airfare. The house is approximately 35 minutes from the airport and directly across the street from the ocean in a central location. The hosts say that they eat almost all of their meals on the open-air lanai that overlooks the ocean. Water activities are year-round because Hawaii, and it includes swimming, plus watching dolphins, turtles, and monk seals. The host provides snorkels, a kayak, and paddleboards. Now here's the UU connection. Your gracious hosts are Dan and Sue Carpenter, fellow Unitarian Universalists and friends of Reverend Buren's. They are world travelers and adventurers, so I encourage you to look up more about them on the auction page. Plus, the UU Congregation of Honolulu was including a welcoming dinner in the package. Bidding on this trip to Hawaii opened today, and it closes at 12:30 p.m. on Sunday, 2/28. If you missed bidding the first time around, now's your chance. There's a link to the item in today's order of service. There's also a link on the uusf.org website, and we're including a link in the next issue of The Flame. You don't get many chances, so take advantage of this opportunity to bid on a fantastic experience. Thank you and good luck.
So there's one opportunity to plan ahead for your vacation once all of this is over. Upcoming, though, closer in timeline for all of us, in the order of worship, you'll see a number of opportunities for things like spiritual practices or service to the world through our connection to the food bank, but also opportunities to deepen your spirit and the conversations about our place in the world. I'd commend to your attention that the Pagan Interest Circle will be hosting a gathering next Saturday night. For those who'd like to find out more, if you're interested in earth-centered religion, there's an upcoming UU theology class that's for just our young adults, those in their 20s and 30s who want to discuss what it is that Unitarian Universalists believe. How does our past theological commitment carry forward today? And Our Spirit Saturday is coming up next Saturday. You'll see that there are a number of workshops you can sign up for. The day is all, of course, virtual. We start with a gathering and brief worship and centering, and then split up into workshops for 90 minutes and then regather for some brief connection before people head out into their day, still very early in the day. So consider joining. And finally today, our forum at 2 o'clock is hosting a special event and conversation on how to achieve a complete, inclusive immigration reform, the moral and economic foundations. Our panelists are 4 stellar people with academic and activist backgrounds that can talk to us and be in conversation with us, and hopefully we can learn deeply from them. What are the barriers, what are the opportunities and arguments for creating finally a viable pathway to legalization for the millions of immigrant workers and their families and refugees here in the United States, people who have been living under a threat of arrest, incarceration, and deportation for far too long. But now we have a window with the new administration, who just this week put forward a broad immigration reform proposal. We have a chance to advocate and leverage our power and voice, we hope, to make change. Please join the phenomenal panel that's gathered this afternoon for that discussion. And join in any and everything else that calls to your heart and mind, that brings you into community and deepens the conversation about what matters in your life. So this is all I'm calling your attention to directly this morning. I'd like for us now to center ourselves in worship as we do each week, singing together our meditation on breathing. The words are simple. They're printed in your order of worship. If this is your first time with us, you can listen. There are multi-parts, so you can join in singing, joining whichever song leader you'd like, and the practice is to lose yourself in the singing of it. So let's join together in our meditation on breathing.